This is part 2 of a Q&A. I'm going to post a link to part 1. So let's just jump in on the first question. How do you get over the intermediate bass hump? That's a really good question. I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with for a while. You just got to keep going. I think 2 things that'll really help you go from intermediate to more capable, practicing your muting. And by muting, I mean like muting the strings that you're not playing. I have a video just about that. I'll post a link. And then also practicing your timing. I have a video about that. 2 ways to improve your timing. Those are 2 things that are going to help you sound cleaner, more solid, more pro as a bass player. But I think music, it's like a lot of, or musical growth, it's a lot of plateaus. And you make your progress, and then you plateau. And you might be on that plateau for a while before you make progress, and you plateau again. And it's just a series of those events, and sometimes those plateaus can last a long time. And it can be discouraging, but you'll get through it. You just have to keep pushing. And maybe you have to do something like spin it on its head and try something different. Like, for example, I've been practicing a lot more piano recently, and I actually think that's been helping me a lot as a bass player because I'm hearing chords differently and thinking in a different way. So maybe try, if you feel like you're stuck, maybe try something that's not bass. It might not necessarily have to be a different instrument. Maybe like practice recording, practice singing, practice guitar, piano, practice something else, and you might come back to the bass with a different perspective or some fresh ideas. But you'll get through it. I know it can be lame, but just keep going, and you'll get to the next level, I promise. Tips for when you get a gig playing a genre you aren't familiar with. Really good question. I would say listen to a bunch of that music even before you pick up your instrument. Do some research. Learn about the origin of that genre. Where did it come from? What styles of music gave birth to that music? And where's it going? Who are the artists today that are still carrying the torch onward with that music? And do some research. Who are the most famous, influential artists of that genre? What are their most important albums? And listen to those. And just start to assimilate the culture of the music and the history of the music. Learn what are some of the most commonly called songs in that genre. Learn if there's any sort of tone expectations for your instrument in that genre. All of this knowledge exists for free on the internet, by the way. Find concert footage on YouTube of those famous artists playing this music live. Because there's things you can learn from seeing someone play it live as opposed to just hearing the album. Because sometimes music can't exist on stage in the same way that it can exist in a recording. Sometimes it's reinterpreted. And to that end, I would say find out in your area, where are people playing that music with authenticity? Where's the spot? And go. And don't play, at least not on the first time there. Go and tip the band if it's appropriate, have a drink, and just listen and take it in. See how a band is actually performing that music in a live context. And I think that'd be a good place to start. And I think the biggest thing about playing music that's not your own is to just do it very respectfully. People are really passionate about their culture and their music, and if you're an outsider, you need to show all the respect you can. In some genres of music, it's actually it can be really disrespectful to overplay. So if you're coming into a musical situation that you're not familiar with, make sure that you're not overplaying or playing something that it doesn't fit the music, because it could come off as disrespectful. You're a guest, right? Show respect and just do your best. So that's how I would do it. Next question. How did you first meet RHETT, SHULL, and the gang? I met RHETT at music school. We went to the same school in Atlanta Institute of Music, and we graduated around the same time. And then we started playing in bands together, and we ended up recording at a studio that was owned by Rick Beato. And then through that experience, I asked Rick if I could be his intern, and I did a recording internship at Rick's studio, and RHETT did as well. And then through that, met Noah, because he was recording at the studio, and I recorded a little bit on that record, thanks to Rick. He said, pick up the bass, you're going to play bass on this track, and I played on one of Noah's songs on that album. And then through that, Noah needed a band, and his brother plays drums, as you know, Ian, and then Noah asked if RHETT would play guitar and I would play bass on an upcoming show. And then we just kind of kept playing with him and went out on the road, and we've all been friends for years now. But yeah, I'm really thankful to have met RHETT, because he's been one of my best friends for a long time now, and really thankful to have gotten to study under Rick. I learned so much from him, and through him got to meet Noah. Okay, last question for this video. I'll post part 3 next week. In the meantime, please consider subscribing, or if you want some specific bass knowledge, I have a course. I'm going to put a link to that in the description. So, last question for today. During which phase of your career as a musician have you learned the most? Really good question. I'll tell you some of the phases. So I played as a hobbyist and as a beginner in middle school and high school, and then I wanted to pursue music professionally, and I went to music school. And then out of music school, I played full-time for about 10 years. And then in the last few years, I have actually not been playing music full-time. I've been working in audio, doing sound for movies. I work as a boom operator. So right now, music is not my primary source of income, although for a long time it was. So I'm really happy with this most recent phase where I've shifted from playing music full-time to being selective with the music that I play and making my money and my living not as much in the music industry. That's actually been kind of refreshing. It's taken a bit of pressure off, where I can just find joy and creativity in music and not have to stress as much about paying the bills with it. And I think that's kind of unlocked a different side of music for me recently. So yeah, I think I'm excited about, in the last couple of years, like playing with Deacon Knight, playing with Noah, and starting to be a little more creative on my own and starting to explore making these videos for you. I feel like I'm growing a lot and learning a lot right now. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next. So thanks for hanging out. I'll post part 3 next week.